Alex at Cormdale Farm. Today is fruit tree planting day. So I have 8 trees that I've bought and collected over the last couple weeks, and we are going to get them in the ground today because it's going to be hot here soon, and I want to get them starting to grow in ground so they're not as stressed during our hot, dry summer here in Oklahoma. So follow along. Okay, here we have our nice large hole, and I am adding some gathered sticks and then later some leaf debris. And the reason for this is it's going to help add organic matter back into our clay soil. So as it decomposes, it's just going to add back some nice fluffy nutrients for the tree that the roots are absolutely going to love. So it's in native soil, but we're giving it a little bit of extra that should help with transplant shock, but also just as the tree settles in and as this extra organic material breaks down, it'll continue to feed the tree more than just the starter fertilizer that I add. So I gathered some twigs. These leaves are from my spring cleanup video from my elm trees that I saved and bagged that I added to each hole. And so this is really going to make the tree happy when their nice little roots discover it. So more fill dirt back in. The worst thing that you could do is now to just fill this hole with delicious compost and not native soil. You need the tree to live in the soil it's going to live in and not create an entirely artificial environment for the tree. Or then once the roots get outside of that environment and they hit native soil, they're going to be confused and angry, and you're going to end up having a not very happy tree. So to my organic matter and native soil, I am adding Espoma Biotone starter fertilizer. This fertilizer is especially good for when you're transplanting or planting new things versus like a plant tone, which is just a general all-purpose fertilizer. So super specific measurements I just did there. Whack it in the hole, mix it up, and all of that addition is going to make the roots of the tree happy, but not so happy that it struggles to get used to its new home in its now clay soil that it's going to live in. So there's our tree. We use a shovel to level it, and I'm going to point to the graft union. The graft union on the tree needs to be above the soil level, or you're going to also have an unhappy tree and it's just not going to do well. So I found the graft union and made sure my level marker is about 2 inches below that level, and fill back with native soil. crab apple, we hit what looks like entirely different soil. The soil over there is really darkish black color with lots of worms. We came on the other side of the driveway and it is like a light milk chocolate brown, and there's huge chunks of shale in it. You can tell it's shale from the color and then the deposit lines. Some of the pieces you could totally just snap in your hand. I can't snap that one. Can you snap this one? So, I don't know. We did it. 8 fruit trees. Well, a crabapple counts as a fruit tree. 8 trees planted. It took us 2 days. Well, us. My husband dug all the holes, but I was helpful management. We got it done. So I thought now as the sun is setting with some nice lighting, I give you a tour of where we decided to put everything. So I'm standing next to the biggest tree I bought. This bad boy is a 10-gallon tree. The rest of them are 5 gallons, so he's much bigger. This is a Jonah Gold apple. He's about a mid-size apple tree. He's gonna get between 10 to 18 both ways. And Jonah Golds are really great for baking. So I wanted to have a mix of apple flavors for snacking, for baking, for applesauce, eventually when we have harvest. So I'm really excited about this one, and it's in blossom. So I get to enjoy some spring blossoms this year at the new house. Okay, so we're headed to the front of the property. Originally in our plans, this was going to be the raised bed area, but the slope ended up not working. So we thought this little nook would be a great place for our orchard because we're not really going to be planting much else in here otherwise, especially not raised boxes. So we ended up with 4 trees in this area. So let's start over here. This little guy is a moon glow pear. Moon glow pear. I'm going to put a picture on the screen of what all of the fruit looks like in these trees. But a moon gold is a yellowish pear, and let's look at his stats. 35 feet tall by 20 feet. I'll probably be dead by then by the time this tree reaches this height. But that is a big pear. And this is going to put off some really beautiful blossoms probably next spring. And hopefully in a couple years start producing fruit. Over here, in the middle of our little area, we have my other pear. This is a good old standard Bartlett. A Bartlett and an Anjou pear tend to be the ones you can get in a grocery store. So a Bartlett is great for snacking. It's great for baking. My kids love a pear sauce that I make, which is kind of like applesauce. So this little guy is, let's see what his stats are. He's about the same, 30 by 20, so he's gonna be a big boy too. And the recommended spacing is 20 feet, but you can always keep things pruned down. It doesn't have to reach the biggest, most mature size ever if you keep on it. So I think this distance is pretty good. The 2 in the back are going to be my smallest trees. These are my plums. These are my plum trees. They've already blossomed and started to leaf out, so they're probably not going to produce yet. Okay, so this is the Methley plum. And it's gonna get 20 by 20, but again, I'll keep this guy pruned. Plums tend to be self-fruitful, which means they don't typically need another plum to cross-pollinate like an apple would. But when you have 2 plums, your harvest is just gonna be that much bigger. So I could not get a second plum, but it's worth the extra money so that I actually end up with more plums overall. And he is over here. I've only ever grown a Santa Rosa plum, so these plums are new to me. But this is a rubrum plum, and this guy's much tinier. He's only 12 to 15 feet. So we thought that would be a good plum to put near the driveway because he's not gonna get massive and start encroaching. So he'll stay nice and compact. So this is our 2 plum, 2 pear little grove. And one day, maybe in like 5-ish years, the canopy will be so nicely shaded that we could even put like a little seating area here to enjoy the shade under the blossoms in the spring and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to the future area up here. On to the more apples. Crossing the driveway. All right, so this is a good way to show the difference between when you're buying and what you're really paying for. So the first apple I showed you, that's considered a 10-gallon apple because the bucket he was in was roughly 10-gallon size. You could see how much bigger and beefier he was. He had way more branches and he had a much thicker trunk caliper. This is a 5-gallon, so it's a big difference, and so therefore there's also a price difference. So when you pay more money with the 10-gallon, you're paying for 2-3 years more growth. So it can be worth it if you can source 10-gallon, but there's supply chain issues and whatnot. So 5-gallon was really my main option. So that's why this guy looks a little bit weeny. This is a Gala apple. I'm sure you've all had a Gala apple from the grocery store. Great snacking apple. I can bake with it too, but this is the kind of apple that the kids can grab off the tree and have a snack. So I'm really excited about him. And this guy will stay as big or as small as I keep him. So this is a great area here where I won't let him encroach on the driveway or get too out of control. There's my Gala. On to the crab apple. All right, this is my purple Robinson crab apple. And he's just finishing blossoming. This is a nice one over here. This guy gives off a dark wine pinkish purple blossom, which I am just so excited about. And then the leaves have this greenish purple variegation to it. So he's just really interesting. I'm pretty sure this is a sterile crab apple, which means it's not actually going to produce the small little tiny crab apples. There's only a couple varieties now left that aren't sterile, but he's beautiful and I love him, and he'll be a wonderful shade tree for our future fire pit area and just beautiful spring color. My other shade trees, my big mature shade trees, don't have spring blossoms, so I really wanted to add some spring color because the elms and the maple behind me still look dead. So I needed some more color, especially because it's April. All right, let's head over to the last tree. Okay, so we're at my last little teeny weeny stick man. He is on the east side of the house. He's going to get some afternoon shade, which maybe he'll appreciate. But this is a Fuji apple. Again, this is a variety you're probably familiar with. Great snacking apple. I'm pretty sure he might not be a semi-dwarf. He might be a standard, which means he has the potential to get absolutely massive. This says 30 to 40 feet by 25 to 30 feet wide. I'm going to keep him pruned down, but this middle area would be really nice to have a nice big shade tree that produces wonderful apples for us in the future. But this little 5-gallon guy started really small, so hopefully our staking efforts work and he's happy over here. This is our wettest location, so he's also a little bit of a trial guy to see how his roots end up in our more wet drainage area. But 8 fruit trees. I am so excited for the years to come, and my kids are still little, appetites are still fairly little, so I'm kind of hoping these trees grow as the kids' appetites grow, and I have just tons of fruit for them to snack on, apple pies, pear sauce, all the canning I can hope for in years to come.